I think we're live now. Hey guys, how are you today? Welcome. If you are new to me, hi, my name is Krista Tyus. I teach tax and accounting professionals how to get more clients utilizing social media and scale their virtual firm to multiple six figures. So, in today's video, I want to go over how to use a tax engagement letter. So, we are in tax season. And a lot of you, this is your first year, or maybe this is even your second or third year, but you probably haven't totally utilized tax engagement letters. So we're going to go over a tax engagement letter today. And then also I can answer any questions that you might have about the process, how to complete your tax engagement letter, how to get over to your client, and so forth. So welcome, guys. If you're catching this live, say hi. Introduce yourself. If you are catching this in a replay, go ahead, hashtag replay below, and let me know what city and state you are viewing from. Where are you tuning in from? What country are you tuning in from? So I can get to know you. All right. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is share my screen because I want to actually go over the tax engagement letter that I have on my computer. And we want to talk about, just why you want to have a tax engagement letter and just some nuances that you're going to notice on your tax engagement letter. Okay, so what I'm going to do is share my screen. And there we go. So this is a sample engagement letter that is courtesy of Onboardable. And so what you can do if you do have Onboardable, all of your sample engagement letters is right here in your documents, and then you can download them for free directly within here, right? So all I did was download the individual and business tax engagement letter so we can go over it together. So the very first thing that you want to do, of course, is just customize your engagement letter to your brand colors, right? You want to, have your virtual firm's materials branded to your virtual firm, right? So change out these colors. You can go ahead and change these colors out. You can remove this logo and actually upload your own logo right there. So go ahead and do that first. Now, the very first thing that you want to realize is that your engagement letter is really to help spell out the terms in which you're going to be working with your clients. This is for any type of client. You want to get into the best practice of having an engagement letter for all of your service types. So rather it's tax preparation for individual or for a business, or bookkeeping, CFO, tax planning, tax resolution, or even payroll services, you want to get in the best practice of having an engagement letter for all of your services. The reason why is because you clearly want to spell out what you are going to do and what you are not going to do. And you want to have this language up front with your clients to mitigate any liability on your behalf, right? So your clients know exactly what they're responsible for. They know what due diligence they have to do, and they know what you are responsible for and what you are committed to do in exchange for your service and for money, right? For you guys engaging into this transaction. So let's look at the engagement letter from top to bottom. So what you're going to do, you're going to change out your date, and we're just going to put today's date on here, which is February 1st, 2021. And then what I can do is unhighlight this if I don't want any color on it, right? The color, the yellow, is just to let you know that that is a field that you want to change out. So I'm going to send this to my client, and her name is Krista Tyus, and she lives on 123 Billionaire Row. And her city is, let's say, Los Angeles, CA 90210. Right? So now we filled that part out. Now you're going to say, Dear Taxpayer. So we're just going to highlight this, and we are going to put in Krista's name. Bam. And now it says, thank you for choosing your company. So what's your company's name? So let's just say our company's name is Krista Tyus and Associates. Oh, bam. To assist you with your tax returns. This letter confirms the terms of our engagement with you and outlines the nature and extent of the services I will provide. right? And so it goes on to say that you, the tax professional, will prepare their federal and state income tax returns. Now, if you do prepare local returns, you also can include that right there. So you would say federal, state, and local tax returns, right? If they do have local taxes applicable. So you do want to customize that to your particular area and demographic. And it says, I will depend on you to provide the information I need to prepare complete and accurate returns. And so this is important because your clients, they have the onus is on them to provide you with all of their tax documents. And this unfortunately happens to a lot of tax professionals and taxpayers, where the taxpayer will actually receive a W-2 or a 1099, 2 weeks after they've already filed, or 3 weeks, or maybe it went to another address, or maybe they just completely forgot that they actually work at this job, or maybe that they took out a withdrawal from their retirement. Whatever the case may be, the onus is on your taxpayer to make sure that they give you all of the necessary documents, all of the source documents that is needed to file their complete and accurate return for that tax year. So you want to make sure that this language is in your engagement letter. It also goes on to say, I may ask you to clarify some items, but will not audit or otherwise verify the data you submit. Now, this is also important, right? And we're getting really the important stuff right out of the gate. The reason why you want to put this into your engagement letter is because you are not an auditor. And if you are, if they're not paying you for auditing services, it should be explicitly acknowledge that you are not auditing the accuracy of the data that they are giving you. That's not what they're paying you in this engagement to do. So you want to make sure that they can't come back and say, well, you were supposed to know that that wasn't accurate, or you were supposed to catch that that amount wasn't right. Right? You are actually mitigating this, and you're helping to really put that onus back onto your taxpayer to say, hey, you are responsible. And the information within what you're giving me is all on you. And I'm going to take this information and prepare the tax return utilizing the information that you gave me. Okay. Now, the other part of this, and the final sentence to the second paragraph, states a checklist is available to help you collect the data required for your return and help you avoid overlooking important information. So you can give your clients checklists to help them gather the information that they need. You can either give them an electronic copy, or of course, if they're logging on and they're onboarding themselves, they'll see the information that they need to submit over to you in order to complete accurate tax returns. What I'll also do at the end of this video, I will give you this engagement letter to download for free. And I'll also give you a checklist that you can also download for your clients for free as well. Also, most tax return softwares gives you some sort of checklist built in within the software that you can download. So see if your tax return provider already has a checklist for you. Alternatively, you can also download one off Google. Go ahead and Google tax return checklist for individual. All right, so the next part of this states that information you provide will be kept confidential, that you're going to restrict access to information and maintain physical, electronic, and procedural safeguards to protect your client's information. It goes on to say, I will perform accounting services only as needed to prepare your tax returns. Now, this you want to pay attention to, because I have some clients that are like, I will not perform any accounting services if they aren't included as a paid line item within this engagement, right? Because some of your clients might expect you to, clean up their books because you're doing their tax returns, or to, make sure that you enter their invoices in order to their tax returns. You can and you should charge separately for this particular service. So you will want to definitely change out this language to state that you will perform accounting services only as needed to prepare your tax returns for an additional service fee, something like that. Right? Now it says, my work will not include procedures to find defalcations or other irregularities. Accordingly, our engagement should not be relied upon to disclose errors, fraud, or other illegal acts, though it may be necessary for you to clarify some of the information you submit. I will, of course, inform you of any material errors, fraud, or other illegal acts I discover. So you are letting them know that if you do come across some irregular information or some, material errors, it is your responsibility to notify your tax client. And it is your responsibility to let them know that they have to correct that they are responsible to correct that error, especially if it's a tax return that maybe you're reviewing their last year's tax return and you were not the tax professional that prepared that return. However, you discover that there are errors or that professional, erroneously filed certain information that wasn't supposed to be filed. It is your duty to actually notify your tax client to say, hey, this information that was filed by this other preparer is not correct, and you need to make sure that you change it. Now, the IRS does not put the onus on you to make sure that tax return is filed, but the onus is on you to actually just notify and let your client know their responsibilities under the tax law, right? But you don't have to take that return and say, I'm gonna file it for you without their consent, right? You can let them know, and then the onus is on them whether or not they correct that error. It also goes on to say the law imposes penalties when taxpayers underestimate their tax liability. Please contact me if you have any concerns about such penalties. Should I encounter instances of unclear tax law or of potential conflicts in the interpretation of the law, I will outline the reasonable courses of action and the risks and consequences of each. I will ultimately adopt on your behalf the alternative you select, right? So you're just saying, like, if there is some interpretation of the tax law that might be unclear, that you're going to do your best to actually interpret the law that, can be upheld by the Internal Revenue Service, right? You never want to interpret the law where the IRS might come in and be like, why did you interpret it that way? That is, now that is not how we wanted that law interpreted, right? And there are some CPA firms and accountants that interpret the law very creatively, right? And so you just want to let your clients know that you are going to, really do your best to interpret the law at the highest level, and that you will present to your client the courses of action that they will ultimately be responsible to select, right? You never want to, take an interpretation and just apply it for and on behalf of your client without communicating to your client the position that you're going to take. So it says my fee will be based upon the complexity of the return, right? So this is I believe I did a video about how to charge for tax preparation on YouTube, and we'll do another one in the next couple of days for you guys. But we do charge based upon the complexity, right? We don't just charge like a flat fee. We don't charge a percentage of the return. We charge based upon how complex this return is. So how many forms does it actually take, to actually complete this tax return to its entirety, right? And so what you're stating here, you're saying that you actually quote in advance of your work. And if this is not possible, you want to make sure that you change out this language. But you do want to give your tax clients an idea of how much you are going to charge them based upon that complexity. So I typically just ask a few probing questions. So if I have a individual coming to me, I'll quickly ask them, well, tell me a little bit about how you normally file. Are you W-2? Do you have any children? Based upon that initial quick assessment, I can let them know, here's about how much I typically charge for a client like that based upon what you just said of the complexity of your tax situation, right? So you're going to give them an idea based upon what they said, but obviously that might not be the entire case. You might actually get in there and they have Schedule C and they have Schedule E, right? Which would actually cause the tax preparation fee to increase because the complexity has increased, right? So this is you saying, hey, I'll give you a quote of the advanced work. However, if complications are discovered, if there's additional information that needs to be filed, that you may need to adjust your fee. And before proceeding with preparation of the return, I will generally contact you in advance if my original quote requires significant revision due to the amount of work involved. Now it goes on to say invoices are due and payable upon presentation. So as soon as you send an invoice, you will expect payment. Now you're going to add in a little clause to the extent permitted by state law. So make sure this is applicable for your state. And interest charge may be added to all accounts not paid within 30 days. And you can change that out to any date that you wish. Now it goes on to say, I also offer other services, including financial planning, tax planning, business consultation, and audit representation. These are separate services not covered under this engagement and are offered on an hourly basis. My typical fee for these services is $250 per hour. Now, here's what you want to know about this section of the engagement letter. You are letting them know that you do offer other services. So you want to customize this service suite to your particular services that you offer. So yours might say payroll, capital consulting, tax planning, and audit representation. Or you might not even offer audit representation, in which case you will just remove that from the service listing. So you are letting your clients know that yes, you do offer other services. However, they are not covered under this engagement, because there will be clients many times that will engage you for a particular service. And it could be outside of tax preparation. Maybe they engage you for bookkeeping service. And now they start asking you to, look into their tax situation. Now they want to know what are the best tax strategies for them. You need to be clear with your clients that that is outside the scope of your initial engagement, that whatever service that they're engaging you for, whether it's tax preparation or bookkeeping, once those additional service requests start to come in, you want to kindly let your clients know that this is in addition to what you have and what you guys have already engaged for services on, and that you will send them an updated engagement for this additional service that they are requesting. That's how you politely handle that. So if you engage with someone on individual tax preparation and now they expect you to do their bookkeeping, kindly smile and say, awesome. Our original engagement is for tax preparation. I'll send over our new engagement in addition to our tax preparation engagement for bookkeeping services, as well as our invoice for to do your books, so we can go ahead and get your tax return completed, right? You don't want to let your clients take advantage of you. And just because they engage you for one service does not mean that they are entitled to additional services for that same price, right? So hold your ground and realize that every ask outside of what they initially engaged you on should be an additional service charge, right? So if you were to go to the doctor, just because, you went to the doctor one day and you came back and you was like, oh, actually my elbow is now hurting, they're going to bill you again, right? Same thing with the lawyer. If you go to your lawyer for business incorporation and you come back and say, hey, I think I need employee contracts, they're going to say, oh, great, here's our extra fee to create your employee contracts. So you want to hold your ground and hold that space for your client as well, to let them know, like, hey, this is the engagement for taxes. We see that you also need bookkeeping in order to get your taxes prepared. Let's go ahead and get a bookkeeping engagement letter completed. And here's that invoice to get that service started. So what you want to do is change out your hourly rate, or maybe just change out this language to state a different type of pricing structure, maybe a flat fixed fee pricing structure. Now it goes on to say, I will return your original records to you at the end of this engagement. You should securely store these records along with all supporting documents, canceled checks, as these items may later be needed to prove accuracy and completeness of a return. I will electronically retain copies of your records and our work papers for your engagement for 7 years. Now, the IRS states that tax professionals are required to hold documents for 3 years. So this is well above the requirement that the Internal Revenue Service imposes. So make sure you adjust this to your particular situation. You might not want to hold on to work papers for that long. You might just want to go with the 3-year mandatory minimum that the IRS imposes on tax professionals. Okay. Now it says, after which these documents will be destroyed. Now here's what you want to know, because this says, I will return your original records to you at the end of this engagement. So yes, if they gave you original hard copies of their W-2s, their 1099s, you want to definitely give them their original returns, their work papers back to them. You can make copies for your file. Here's where you want to understand your rights as a tax professional. If your client did not pay you for this engagement, let's just say you completed their tax return and they did not pay you for the completion of that tax return, you do not have to give that tax return to that client unless you are paid for services, even after you completed the return. You do, however, have to give the tax preparer their original records and their source documents back. But until they pay you, you are not required to submit over your proprietary work product to them unless you are paid for services. So be clear on that, right? Because there might be cases over the next few years of your tax career that someone stiffs you and they don't pay you, but they expect to get their tax return. You do not have to give your tax product that you completed, work that you completed, unless you are paid for it. Okay. But you do have to return their work documents back, their work papers back, their 1099s, W-2s, and so forth. Okay. Now, rounding this out, it says if your tax return is selected for audit by the IRS or by the state tax authorities, I am available to represent you or to prepare materials in response to correspondence. However, these are additional expenses not included in my tax preparation fees, and I will render additional invoices for the time and expense incurred, right? So this is very clear. It's saying, hey, if you're audited after this, we will assist you. However, we will assist you for an additional fee, unless you included some sort of audit protection for your client, right? So if they paid to have audit protection, then of course you would just abide by the terms of that particular engagement. However, if they did not pay for audit protection and they are audited later on, you can charge an additional fee for that particular service to represent and to prepare materials to respond to any correspondence. Okay. Now it says, please let me know right away if you receive any letters from the IRS or any other tax agency. I will correct your return for free and pay any penalties if I am at fault. Okay. So if you transpose a number, if you miss something, right, that you were supposed to do, then you're stating right here that you will correct your error for free and that you will pay any penalty. So if this person does incur $200, $300, $400, $500 in penalties, you will pay that out of your pocket. Okay. However, this last line is important. You're not stating that you're going to be responsible for the payment of any taxes owed. Okay. So if you do transpose a number that incurs them to actually owe $1,000, you are required to pay the penalty of, let's just say $500 or $50, but you are not required to pay the actual tax liability because that's their tax liability that they were going to owe anyway. So you want to make sure that that's clear in your tax engagement letter. Almost finished rounding this out. It says my engagement to prepare your tax returns would conclude with the delivery of the completed returns to you if paper filing, or your signature and subsequent submittal of your tax return if e-filing. If I am not able to e-file your returns, you will be solely responsible to file the returns with the appropriate taxing authorities. Review all tax return documents carefully before signing them. This letter can apply to future years of tax preparation services unless the agreement is terminated or amended in writing. So this is great because this client probably will become and should become a client next year and the year after and the year after. And so in which case this same letter can be used for future years that this person is a tax preparation client. So you don't have to submit this to your client every single year for them to file, okay? Now it says to affirm that this letter correctly summarizes your understanding of the arrangements for this work, please sign the enclosed copy of this letter in the space indicated and return it to me in the envelope provided or electronically. I appreciate your confidence in me. Please call if you have any questions. Sincerely, name of tax preparer. So we're just going to say Krista Tyus and Associates Co. Okay, and then I'm going to unhighlight this, no color. And then we are going to say accepted by taxpayer signature, their printed name, their spouse's signature if they're married, and then the date. Now, here's what you want to do. And we use Onboardable to get over our engagement letter. So I'm going to save this, and I'm actually going to save it as my Krista Tyus engagement letter 2021. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Onboardable, right, which is my practice management software. I'm going to find the client that I want to submit this engagement letter to. So I'm just giving you guys an example of what this looks like. So I'm going to send this to Faith Evans, right, which is my imaginary client for this tutorial training purposes. I'm going to go to the job for individual tax return. And then I'm going to go right here to add files, and I'm going to find the file that I just created, which is right here at the top. And what I'm going to name this is tax engagement letter 2021. Okay. Now I'm going to hit e-signature required and send it to my tax client securely to their portal. Okay. So it's going to take me to DocuSign, which is already integrated within Onboardable. And bam, you see I have that same engagement letter that I just edited with you guys live. Krista Tyus, 123 Billionaire Row, Los Angeles, California. Right. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to scroll all the way down and I'm going to take this signature. I'm going to drop it right there. I'm going to take the date and drop it right there. And then I'm going to take her name and put it right here. And then bam, now I'm going to send this to Faith Evans to her client portal. And now that was securely sent to her. Okay. Now what it looks like on your client side, and actually let's do this. Let's actually go to an example because I want to show you what it looks like on your client side. So let's do that one more time. Okay. Yep. Let's do that one more time. And we're going to go engagement letter 2021, e-signature required. It's going to take me to DocuSign. And then I'm just going to send this one more time because I actually want to show you what it looks like on the client side. Print it name and then send. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is log out of here and I am going to log into the client side to show you what it looks like. Log in as client. And then I'm going to go to my documents and toggle to where that was sent to me. So let's see if we can find it. Okay, so for instance, this is one that I can sign for you live. So click here to sign. Let's refresh. And let's go back. And let's go here. Hold on, come on. It's thinking. Okay, so while that's thinking, let's check if there's any questions in the chat. What questions do you guys have so far about engagement letters, going over engagement letters with your clients, and so forth? Hey guys. You guys are quiet today. You guys are really quiet today. Normally the chat is normally blowing up. Hey. All right, so let me see if my document is ready. Uh-huh. Oh, I see. I didn't include it under the service type. I see. That was the wrong service type. I see what happened. Aha. So anywho, so we would do a part 2 of this, and I don't see any questions in the chat, but we would do a part 2 because I'm going to go back and actually just show you guys from start to finish what that will look like. So if you have any questions once this ends, just go ahead and type it in the chat for me, and I will make sure that I will get all of your questions answered. And then what I'll do is this engagement letter, the business one, as well as the individual one that we just went over, I will put it down below for you guys so you can just download it. And then I will also get over the checklist to you guys. So you guys have like a client checklist that you can either send your clients, or you can email it to them to say, hey, here's a checklist to help you gather all of your tax documents together, right? We'll get that to you down below. Just give me like 2 minutes and I'll put those resources down below for you guys. All right, guys, have a beautiful rest of the day, and I'll see you guys soon on our next training video. We'll be talking about actually going through some additional onboarding details for your clients and how to kind of like